Right, welcome. My name is Adrian, and today we will be continuing our journey in SolidWorks and start focusing on basic part modeling and drawing. In this video, you will be able to select the best profile for sketching your part, selecting the correct plane to start drawing, extruded cut a drawing you've created, add some fillets to your part, add holes using the hole wizard, create a basic drawing of your part, as well as edit sketches and features afterwards. Let's get started. Now, before you get drawing on a part, you need to first determine what is going to be the first feature that you're going to create of the part. On what plane are you going to draw this part? And I've brought some examples with me. You can see here is a valve of an engine, and if you want to go and draw this valve, you need to determine where you're going to start off, what plane is it going to be, and exactly how you're going to go about it. So you can decide that this is going to be your top plane. You're going to start drawing on this, or you're going to start drawing from the side and using some revolved feature. So for this part, I would go and do a revolved feature, which we'll cover in a later video, but you would then draw it on the front plane and draw just the outline and revolve it to get your valve. Then, of course, because you've drawn it on the front plane, your top plane will have a view like this, and then those are the only two planes you really need to get a detailed drawing from your part. Another one is a connecting rod of an engine. You can see we need to determine where we're going to start off. So best way to start drawing this would be sort of the outline of this piston rod with the two holes. So you would then have to decide, are you going to make this your front view, and then correspondingly your top view will look like that, or are you going to start off this as being your top view and then your front view is going to look like that. It doesn't, for these two parts, it does not really matter. You would get the most information out of the views that you decide to choose. You just need to decide which one you want to have on your detailed drawing. If you decide that this sort of view is going to be your front view, then in your detailed drawing, this will come up as a front view where you can put up all your dimensions. If you decide it to be your top view, then your top view will look like that, and your front view will look like that on your drawing. We are going to just do a simple bracket, and our is going to look like this approximately. You'll see this is the isometric view, and I've decided that the front view is going to be looking like this. So the front view, we're going to look from through the hole in the upper extrude, and then our top view will look like that. So we are going to start off with drawing this base plate first on our top view. All right, so let's get started with that. Like I said in the beginning, we are going to be creating a basic bracket, as you can see here. Now, this bracket, just by looking at it, would consist of two boss extrudes, the base plate and the vertical plate, as well as a little cut of a slot there at the bottom. Also, you need to consider design intent before you start drawing your part or creating it. In this case, if we look at the bracket, I always want the holes to be on the corners. If we look at the top view, these holes always need to be on the corners of this base plate. And if we look at the front view, this hole here always needs to be in the middle of this tangent circle. Also, for this, I would like this vertical boss base to be a certain distance from the left of the part. So if we edit it further, making the base plate longer, then this vertical boss extrude will not move. It will always have a set distance from the left of the part. Also, the slot here at the bottom always needs to be nicely in the middle of the vertical boss. So again, if I make some changes, that must not change. So when you go about creating a part, you always need to think, what is the design constraints? What is the design intent of the part I need to create? If I would go on a later time and and edit it, what needs to stay in place, what can change, what can move about. It's always important to make sure you've got that in mind when you start drawing or creating your part in SolidWorks. All right, so I am going to create a new part and we're going to get started. I would start off with one base for the base plate, one boss extrude for the base plate, then another boss extrude for the vertical part of it, and a cut extrude for the slot at the bottom. So we select top plane, select sketch, it changes the view so that the plane is parallel to your screen, and I'm now going to start off with using a corner rectangle, and I'm going to start off drawing it from the origin. Now because I've selected it, starting it from the origin, you can see two of the lines are already black, meaning that it's fully defined, so I don't need to worry about that. I can now go and I can dimension it. So pressing my S control key, I can select the dimension tool. For this rectangle, I am going to have a dimension here of 100 and another one here of 40. Right, my sketch is fully defined. I'm happy with it. I can now go and extrude it by clicking the extrude feature. See, a preview comes up, 10 millimeters. Happy with 10 millimeters. I'm going to keep that as is. So I'm just going to say yes. And I've created my first feature of my part. Right, so the next feature is now going to be the boss extrude of the vertical part. And to do that, I'm going to click on this surface here, and I want to create a sketch for that boss extrude on this surface. So when I click it, you can see it highlights and a little box again appears. This box, let's retry that. So if you click on the surface, a box appears, and on that box you get different options. So you can actually go and edit the sketch of the feature you clicked on, or you can create a new sketch. In this case, I'm going to create a new sketch. So I click on that. When you create a new sketch, you see that the view does not change as it usually does when you select a plane when you start off creating a new part. It keeps it in the isometric view. If you are happy with that and you want to start drawing like that, you can do that. I always like looking at normalizing my sketch and looking straight perpendicular to it. So how you can go and do about that is if you go to your manager tree here at the left, you see there's my sketch 2. If I click on that, you can see this little icon here, normal to. When I click it, it normalizes the view for me. So right, so I'm going to start sketching. And you can see now I want to make a circle. So one way you can go about it, like I said previously, if you go and you retract your cursor into the point and you come back, it starts making the cursor for you. And you can see there is a reference line showing me that it is nicely horizontal with my other point. But if you can't be bothered with retracting your cursor back into the line every time you want to switch between a line and a circle, you can just go and press the letter A on your keyboard and it will switch automatically over to tangent features. So then once you click again, it goes back to a line. So there you can see is my little second extrusion. Now I need to add some dimensions to it. The first dimension is the radius or the diameter of the circle. So the radius here, I want it to be 25 or 20. And then I want the midpoint to be a distance away from the center line. You can see again, you need to decide, I want it to be that distance, so I can lock it, press, and that needs to be 50. And then similarly, I want this midpoint to be a distance, vertical distance away from the origin as well, and that is 35. So there you can see it has been fully defined now. My sketch is black, I'm happy with that. You can see also I did not need to specify the length of this one, because basically this length here is the diameter of this circle, which has been specified as a radius of 20. So everything's is set to go. I can now go and extrude it. So I can again press bar space extrude. And you can see if we now go to the view that it's extruding it in the wrong direction. I don't want it to go out of the part. I want it to go over the first feature. So one way to go and change that is to go to this feature here. And you can see there's a little direction 1 and a little button saying reverse direction. So if I click that, you would see it reverses direction, which is what I want. I want the depth to be 6 millimeters, so I update that and I say yes, and there it has gone. It has updated my part. Next up, we are going to add the slot. We're going to cut it out of the part. So this is now rather using the Boss Base Extrude. We're going to use the Boss Cut or Extruded Cut. Again, I'm going to start drawing on this plane here. So when I click on it, I select New Sketch. This time I'm not going to normalize to the plane so that you can just see the difference. I'm again going to use my corner rectangle. I'm hovering over the bottom line and you see the relationship pops up there as it's going to be coincident, which is what I want. So I just press there and I create a slot. And that slot is going to be a height of 3 millimeters. For now, I'm going to leave it as is. You can see it is not fully defined, but I just want to leave it as is now to show you later how you can go back and edit some of your sketches, edit some of the features. So I'm just going to say I'm happy with that, and I'm going to do the Features tab, and then you can see here is the Extruded Cut feature. We've been using mostly the Extruded Boss, but now we're going to move over to Extruded Cut. That is essentially taking a sketch and cutting the profile of that sketch through the part that you have. All right, so that is selected it. The preview shows a little yellow box, and it essentially just tells you that is how far it's going to cut it. For my part, I've got a slot. I wanted to cut through the whole part. So you can now go and change the specifics of this feature. If you go to the left, you can see there's a blind option, but I want it to be through all, meaning it's going to cut through everything. So yeah, through all, I'm happy with that. I'm just going to say yes. By looking at it, it has gone through it. It's not correctly aligned, but we'll get to that later. Just before we start with the hole wizard, I also just want to mention that good practice is to go and edit the names of your features you've created. So you can see we have a Boss Extrude 1, a Boss Extrude 2, and a Cut Extrude 1. As I hover over these names, the feature that you've created gets highlighted on the screen. So you can see Boss Base or Boss Extrude 1 gets highlighted. It's the bottom plate. As I go Boss Extrude 2, you can see the vertical one gets highlighted. And if I go Cut Extrude, you can see the slot gets highlighted. If you've got a part that doesn't have a lot of features, you can get around not renaming it. But imagine if you've got a very complex part, got a lot of features that you've added, and they all are Boss Extrude 1, Boss Extrude 2, up until Boss Extrude 100, or Cut Extrudes of different features, and they only are extinguished through their number. It's going to take you some time to figure out which part, if you want to edit it, where it is on the feature tree. So one way you can go about doing it is to rename these features. Now, if I click on it and I press F2, you can see it automatically goes into changing the name. So I can just say, this is my base plate, just base plate, press enter, and that's fine. Again, the second one, I can just say vertical boss, or vertical plate. And then the last one is our slot. So we can just click on that, press F2, and just say slot. By looking at it, the names are much more descriptive. And if you start using this sort of configuration by changing the features names every time you've created it, later on, if you've got a very complex part, it'll be much easier to determine which feature is which in the parts that you're creating. All right, so we're gonna go and we're gonna start using the hole wizard. So the hole wizard is a really, really nice tool to use. It's got a lot of capabilities that you can tap into. Don't need to create a lot of cut features to create a complex thread or stuff like that. The hole wizard does it all for you. So you can see again, it's in the features tab, hole wizard. So you click on it and you can go about selecting all the specifics that you want. So we are going to select it as counter bore. We want to create a counter bore hole, and it needs to be asymmetric, and the type is going to be hex bolt. That is correct, and we're going to go M8. Also, you can see at the end there's a through all condition, meaning that the hole just goes through everything. I'm happy with that. We want to go and we want to say through all. Once you've selected all the features that you're happy with, you can see there's a little tab saying positions. This is the tab which you need to select if you want to go and show SolidWorks where these holes needs to be. So I'm going to just select that one, and then SolidWorks asks me that I need to select a face. I want to create this on the base plate or on the vertical plate. I want to create the hole, so I click on it, and you can see suddenly there is a preview of the hole that you want to create. Now I want to make it coincident with the midpoint of this half circle. So if I hover my cursor over the half circle, a little cross or plus sign appears where the midpoint is. So after I've hovered over the half circle so that the half circle wakes up, essentially its features wake up, you can then go and hover again across the midpoint, and you can see the little coincident block pops up saying that this whole midpoint will be coincident with the midpoint of the half circle. So I'm happy with that. I'm just going to click it and it creates it. And now obviously you can go and create some more. I just want one, so I'm going to press the escape key saying I'm happy with that, and then I press yes, and there we go. So now we've created the hole, which is great. So I'm happy with that. Created a whole countable hole using the hole wizard. Next up is we're going to add some fillets. Now fillets is rounding some corners of the part. So you can see there's a fillet feature. It's also on the features ribbon, features tab of SolidWorks. So you can select that, and I am going to say the radius is the next feature that you need to specify. So what is the radius of these corners that you're going to create, these fillets? So mine is going to be 8 millimeters. I've also selected full preview. Most of the times this is not, it is selected as no preview, but it's nice to have a full preview to see exactly how it's going to look like. So I'm saying yes. Now there's a few ways you can go about selecting corners. So if we look at this corner, by just hovering over it, you can see it gets highlighted in orange, and when I select it, you can see there's a preview and there's a little thing that pops up saying radius 8 millimeters. Now you can click on this and change it to a different value. If you want to, I'm going to keep it to 8, so there's a nice little preview of that. Another way you can go about selecting is if you drag a little box across the line that you wanted. So if I just drag that there, you can see it has gone and selected everything, which is not what I want. So I'm just going to clear that. So let's try that with this one here. Just going to select that there. So yeah, I've created a box, dragged it over the line. You can see preview is there. I've never used this feature before, but just know it is there. I like to just click the lines that I want. It's a bit more of a, I've got more control of it. So that one over there, and then I can go about and just select that one there. And then similarly, we can select that line over there, and that one there, and that is all of them that I want. So I say yes, and now you can see it is all the rounded corners have been added. If we go to the top view, you can see they've been added. In the bottom view, I can't really see that. Let's go up. It's nicely cornered and everything, so that looks really good. Happy with that. We're going to add some more fillets, but this is going to have a smaller radius. So again, I'm going to select fillet. This time it's going to be 3 millimeters, and it's just going to be this line here and that line there. Now you can see SolidWorks, even though I've gone and just selected a line, it has gone and it has gone all the way through to the other side. So it usually propagates the fillet following a line that is connected to the line you selected, which in some cases great, other cases not. In my case, yeah, I want it like that, so I'm happy, and I select yes. Now you can see I've gone and created 2 fillet features, fillet 1 and fillet 2, and they've got different radiuses as a result. Always try and group all your fillets together that's got the same radius, so that when you go and change it later on, you don't need to go into different fillet features and changing the radius. You don't just need to go into one feature, edit the radius, and it'll update accordingly. Just going to save you a lot of time. Alright, so now I'm going to show you some editing features that you can go. First thing is I want to edit the sketch of the slot, because like you've seen before, it's not properly aligned to our vertical plate. So the way you go about doing that is, because the sketch has been absorbed by the feature, the cut extrude, we go to the cut one. You can see the little arrow there. We click it and it drops down and it shows me there's the sketch that the feature has used, the cut feature. So I want to edit it, so I click on it once and you can see there is a little edit sketch option. So I click that and it shows me right there we are. I'm just going to normal to it because that's great for me. And what I want to do now is I want to align these vertical sides of the slot with the vertical sides of my vertical plate. So doing that is just using some relations. So I'm going to select this side here. I'm going to hold down the control key and I'm going to select that line and I am going to create a coincident. So you see it's stretched if we go in, we can see that little blue filled in area is where it stretched the slot. This yellow side is where it was previously, which was used to cut the slot through, but now it's been stretched a bit and that little blue side will be added to it. So I've done that side, but I also want to do this side. So I select that vertical side of the rectangle, hold down my control key, select that vertical side there as well, and I want to make it, why isn't coincident not there? All right, let's try again. Let's rather do the point this time. There we go, coincident. And there you say it stretched it from its current position where it ended approximately there, and now it's stretched it all the way to there as a result of my relationships I've added. Now you can see again, it has turned completely black, meaning that that part is now, or that sketch is now fully defined because I've added the relations. And now if I go and I exit my sketch, my feature will update automatically with the changes I've made on the sketch. I don't need to create a new feature. The existing feature will just update with the changes I've made. So I exit sketch and you can see now that it has changed. And now the slot is nicely aligned with my vertical plate. So you can edit sketches, but you can also edit features. In my case, I'm going to edit this fillet feature I made on the vertical plate. So I'm going to select again, same operation with the sketch. This is fillet number 2. I want to edit, so I click on it once and you can see the little option edit feature pops up. So I say yes, I want to edit it, and then I go back into the edit plane, and now I want to select some other lines, and this lines is going to be this one here, and you can see it goes and selects that propagation of that whole line, which I want. Happy with that, and I'm going to say yes, and SolidWorks updates the feature for me. So now all my fillets have been updated, everything is fine. The only thing left is to add the other 2 holes. Now just to show you some other features, editing features of SolidWorks, is this blue line here at the bottom is called the rollback bar. So you can see as I hover across it, there's a little hand that looks like it's going to pinch the line. So if I click on it, it grabs a hold of it, and now you can go and you can move it up. Now what that does, it is literally rolling back into what you did. So if we go up till there, you can see the status, or the part updates by removing these additional features that I've added. So now I can go and I can add more features, and it will push it in between where that blue line is. So for instance, I'm going to go and add some holes using the hole wizard, and I want to insert that feature between the 2 fillets. So I'm going to grab a hold of my rollback bar and I'm going to put it between the 2 fillets features. So now you can see my corner fillets are still there, but the smaller fillets that goes over the vertical base plate as well as around the top of the base plate is not there. You can see it's grayed out in my feature tree. So now I'm going to select hole wizard again, and I just want to have a normal hole and symmetric, and I want it to be 8, 7, 6 and symmetric. Drill sizes 7. All right, so I'm happy with that. So now I want to specify the positions. I'm going to select the base plate. Now you can see it is automatically doing that. Also, if this does not pop up and you don't know how to get the feature on, basically what you need to do is you just need to select this point sketch here. So once you get that, it is a point that you drop on your part, and that is where the holes will be situated. So you just need to select that, and you can see as soon as I select it and I go over my part, it gets shown again. So I want to make sure that these holes are always perpendicular or coincident with the midpoints of these fillets over here. So when I hover over it, you can see there is the midpoint. So, and you can see the yellow box telling me the coincident relationship is going to be created. So I just go and I click it, and there's a hole there. And similarly, I want another hole here. So hover over it, wakes up the quarter circle, and I just create a hole there. And I say, right, I'm happy with that. Now you can see the holes have been created. If we have a look in our feature tree, you can see that the hole wizard feature has been added between the two fillet features, because the rollback bar it was in the position between the two fillets. So when I add additional features, it's just going to put it where the rollback bar is. So now I can just go and roll the bar all the way down, and my fillets get updated again. So there's my part. Only thing left is to color it, make it a bit more fun. So to change the color of a part, you go to your feature tree, to the name of the part, hover your cursor over it, right click, and then you can go to appearance, and you select appearance. You will see the left side gets updated, and the right side as well. And then I'm just going to select the color of the whole part as that, and it gets updated. I'm happy with that. You can go and have a look at all the different features of the appearance property of features. I'm just going to color it. I'm happy with that. And there's my part done, fully defined. I've used fillets, I've used the hole wizard, I've used some cut extrude to create my slot, and it is ready. So now I can go and create a detailed drawing of it. The nice thing about SolidWorks is that as soon as you've created a part and you've finished with it and you want to now go and create a drawing, you can easily switch between part and drawing by just going to the new, and on the little arrow next to it, the drop down, you just say make drawing from part. So when I select that, you can see it goes to a new SolidWorks document folder, window pops up, and I'm going to select this one here. You can add different templates depending on which one you use. I'm just going to use this template, and I'm going to go with that. So then it goes and creates a drawing for me. You can see it's already been, the title block has been already added to my drawing. I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'm only concerned about the views of the part. You can see on the right hand side of my window a lot of views pop up. So you can see top, front, right, and a lot of others, isometric, diametric, trimetric, current, and you can use these and just drag and drop them on your sketch. So I'm going to start off with my front view, which I want, and I'm going to grab a hold of it, and I'm going to drag it to where I want, which is there. And you can see automatically it adds it, and then as I just move my cursor, you can see it automatically shows me the other views. So in this case, that's my top view, and if I'm happy with it there, I can just click and it drops it there. And similarly, if I want my side view, my right view to be there, I can just click on that, and I'm happy with that. So that is my 3 views. You can see you can grab a hold of these views and still move them, but they are aligned with my front view. So I can only move this one up and down. I can't move it left and right, it's only up and down. And similarly with this one, I can only move it left or right. I can't move it up and down. That's the only stuff that I can do. When I move the main drawing, the first one that these two are linked to, if I move that, then both of them will move as a result of the alignment relationship between the 3. I can also add more views, so I can add a trimetric view. If we go here to view palette, you can see there's my isometric view, so I can add an isometric view there as well. You can see it doesn't look really great. It's showing all the hidden detail and stuff for a isometric view. That's not the greatest view to put on a drawing. So you can go here at the bottom, you can at the top, you can see here's a bunch of options, and there's display style, which I want. I'm going to drop down, and I am just going to use shaded with edges. And you can see that looks much better. All right, so I've populated my drawing with my front view, my top view, and my side view. Next thing is to add some dimensions. Right, so similarly to the smart dimensioning tool which you use in your part creation, you've got it as well in your drawing. So it's at the left top. You can see there is smart dimension over there, which you just click on, and you can see there is the features pop up on the left, which you can use. I am going to use the Dim Expert one. So there's two options: Dim Dimension Expert, I guess it stands short for, and then Smart Dimensioning, which it's always selected on default. I'm going to select Dimension Expert, and then a bunch of other stuff pops up as a result. Now the first thing you need to do is you need to select the datum. If you look at that, there's the datum over there by vertex or whole center. So I'm going to have to select the datum first. So I'm going to select the datum point as the same as where the origin was. And then when I go and I select edges on my sketch, you'll see dimensions gets added automatically. So for this one, you can see the 50, the 35 has been added, as well as the diameter of the line being 40. And then the same goes for this. If I clicked the hole I've created with the hole wizard, the information gets added for the hole wizard, 9mm through all, with a counter bore of 18mm in diameter and a depth of 5.68. So all that information gets added automatically, which is great. You don't need to go and manually type it in. So some other, just gonna get the overall length there is 100, and then that one over there just shows me that it is 3mm high. The last one, this one is as well 10mm. So now you can see all the dimensions have been added that I want. The only thing missing really is that all of these needs to be aligned properly. So I need to go now and drag these. When you select them and they turn orange, you can click it and you can see that they get, and you can move them about where you want them to be. And then also this yellow lines appear to sort of align them with other features. Then I'm happy with that. So there's my first sketch. And you can see all the information has been added by using the Dim Expert. Similarly, I can go the same with the other views. I just need to go and create different datum points for them. So you can see in this case, for my top view, if I want to try and select that point, it does not allow me. So you'll have to use another option that is, let's just get that one out of the way, which is vertex whole center, which we can't use, and the other one is selection, and then you get the X and the Y. So now you need to create or select two lines, and then where it intersects, there is where your datum is going to be. So for this case, it'll be that line, and you can see it creates the datum as a result. All right, so then you get started on selecting a bunch of the features of drawing again. I'm going to select this hole I've created with the hole wizard, and it adds all the dimensions necessary that will define that hole fully. Same goes for that one over there. It adds me the length of 100. This one over there gives me a 40 height. And this one over there gives me a 10. All right, again, after you've added all the dimensions that you're happy with, you can just start dragging them all about, making sure that they're all nicely aligned, or they nicely bunched together. You're happy with where they are. This 100, you can see, has been already entered into my drawing here at the bottom. You can see there's 100 and there's 100. So you don't want to double dimension or over dimension your drawings. So this one I'm going to delete. So just select it and pressing the delete button. And it does not want to go away. Maybe if I select that, there it goes away. All right, so you can just select it, press delete, and it goes away. All right, now the only one left is our side view. So I'm going to repeat that. Have to select my datum point, which is there at the bottom. Just going to select that. Select that. It's 40. That one gives me a 1 of 10. I'm happy with that. You can see again my 40 is double dimensioned, so I'm going to delete the 40 on this one. And now I'm going to add another dimension, but I'm going to use the Smart Dimensioning tool, not the Dimensioning Expert. So again, clicking Smart Dimension, and you can see my Dimension Expert's been selected. So I'm just going to over and select Smart Dimension. And what the Smart Dimension is, it's basically just the normal dimension tool that you are familiar with, which you use in your part creation. I want to get the height of this one, so I'm going to select that line over there. You can see it automatically gives me 4 millimeters, but I'm going to select that line over there again, and then you can see 55 pops up, and I'm going to say yes, I'm happy with that. Also, when you select a dimension, you can see this other box pops up. If you hover over it, a little edit toolbox appears, which you can add a bunch of edits. You can add parentheses across it by clicking it, or you can add a lot of other information. Text on the right, you can say typical is usually, you can add that there. Once you're happy with that, you click somewhere else and you can see the feature or the dimension has been updated with parentheses as well as the text I've added to it. So you can easily use that to edit the dimensions as well. Right, so I've added all the dimensions. My part is nicely dimensioned. It's got all the dimensions I need. Now I want to show you how this drawing and my part is linked together. So because I've made a drawing of the part, that does not mean that all the changes are set in stone now. I can't make any changes to my part and have to go and recreate the drawing again. This part and the drawing is connected. So if I go and I hold down the control key and I press tab, you can see there is my bracket part, and now I can go and I can make changes to it. So for instance, I can go and I can change my base plate, its length from 100, and I can change it to 150, making it very long, much longer. And you can see it has elongated. Everything is still, because my design content is set up correctly, the holes have moved, this hole have moved with the increase in length to still being on the midpoint of this fillet over here. My vertical base plate hasn't moved as a result because its dimensions is to the origin over here. So its design content is still intact even though I've made changes to it. But now because I've made changes to it, obviously my drawing needs to be updated. So luckily, because the part and its drawing is linked together, it'll update automatically. And you can see it's just updated it, 142, 150. The views have changed. You may just have to go and drag some of the dimensions. The nice thing about this is that everything gets updated when you make changes. You don't need to go and recreate the whole drawing again, which is great. So after you've created your part, you've created your detail drawing, you can go and save it, and then you can see this pops up as having to save the bracket part as well as the drawing, and you can just say save all and press save, and now your part and your drawing has been saved. They're nicely linked together, so any changes you make to the part will get shown in your drawing, and you have successfully created a part as well as a detailed drawing of that part. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of these videos, do consider subscribing to my channel. I hope to see you next time. Bye.